Good morning and good afternoon. I hope you can all hear and see us. My name is Eran Broshy. I'm the chairman of the American Friends of the Open University of Israel, and we are very pleased to continue today our series of virtual salons with world thought leaders hosted by the American Friends of the Open University of Israel. We are proud to sponsor these types of discussions on issues related to Israel and the world. The Open University, a quick word, is a nonpartisan educational institution and with 50,000 students, indeed the largest of Israel's 10 accredited universities. The Open University is a unique institution in Israel, known for open access, academic excellence, and its major role as Israel's largest educator of STEM students, including computer science, cyber, and AI. We believe sponsoring these types of discussions is very much in the spirit of open dialogue and hearing a range of viewpoints from thought leaders on issues related to Israel and the world. And I know you, our audience, will very much benefit from Professor Elishai Ezra Tsur's perspectives on AI and its impact on the war. So let me introduce and welcome Professor Ezra Tsur. Elishai. Elishai is a world-renowned researcher and a leading voice on the future of artificial intelligence. As the Dean of Academic Studies and Associate Professor at the Open University of Israel, he stands at the cutting edge of neuromorphic engineering, a field dedicated to building computers that process information like the human brain. AI is increasingly shaping modern warfare. Its tools and applications have and are playing a growing role in strategic and decision-making throughout the wars in Gaza, in Iran, and in Lebanon. Elishai will explore how AI is influencing intelligence, targeting, operations, and decisions on today's battlefields. A quick word on our format. Elishai will provide some perspectives over the next 20 minutes or so, and then we'll move to Q&A. I'll start off with a few questions, and time permitting, we would very much welcome audience questions. So please use the Zoom chat feature to ask a question. One quick caveat, with Israel, of course, at war, our live program could get interrupted should there be an incoming missile alert in the area where Elishai is, and he, of course, will need to enter the shelter, typically for about 10 minutes. We hope that is not the case for many reasons, but we will have to stay flexible. So Elishai, welcome and over to you.
Thank you, Eran. Thank you so much for inviting me. So, my name is Elishai Ezra Tsur. I am heading the Neuromorphic Engineering Lab here at the Open University of Israel. But before I get into the presentation, I want to open with, a short disclaimer. So, there is no doubt that, in Israel we are fighting for our existence. And the Israeli people are resilient and our minds are sharp. And over the years, we have developed some of the most sophisticated defense and offensive systems in the world. And these technologies gave us the means not only to protect ourselves, but also to live, build, and flourish here in Israel. And let there be no mistake, no mistakes. The life in Israel is extraordinary. I have traveled widely, and I genuinely believe that here in Israel we enjoy some of the best food in the world. We have an unmatched diversity of landscapes and views, and we have, of course, remarkable people. So, when I originally designed this presentation, I'm trying to be very honest here. I wanted to showcase some of the applications of AI in modern warfare. But, as I was working on it, it was clear to me that I have no intention of glorifying war in any way. War is a terrible thing. And, in Israel, we have lived under the shadows of war almost continuously. I still remember being a 6 years old child during the Gulf War here in Israel, hiding in shelters with my family. And now, 35 years later, I find myself once again in shelters, this time with my own family, during the attacks from Iran. So I want to set the stage right, and I chose to speak really about our scientific breakthroughs they do have applications in the field, and I will leave the exact um, contributions to Israel's defense to your imagination and thoughts. So I will try and let me just share my presentation. I will give you a brief introduction to myself and to the lab. And I will jump right into neuromorphic engineering and how it impacts modern warfare. Warfare. Okay. Hopefully you can see the presentation. So I think the one thing that really characterized my own journey in the scientific landscape is the fact that my academic training was not linear. Most people are taking, bachelor, graduate degrees, going to a postdoc degree in a specific fields, traveling from basic training in computer science to graduate programs in computer science, and then doing your PhDs to PhD work in computer science. But my journey was a much more a combinatorial one. So I actually graduated 3 bachelor's degrees from the Open University of Israel in life sciences, in history and philosophy, in literature and cinema. I have master's degrees in bioengineering, computer science, and neuropsychology. My PhD is in bioengineering, everything in the Hebrew University. And my postdoc was in the Weizmann Institute, working in the field of computational neuroscience. Today, I am the Dean of Academic Studies here in the Open University, where I am also the chair of the Machine Learning and Big Data Master's Program, and of course, an associate professor in the department. But my main, I think, um, role in the university is really leading the Neuroendomorphic Engineering Lab. It's NBEL in short, and you are most welcome to visit our website, nbellab.com, and learn more about what we do, our partners, our publication lists. And I think that what we have in a website can keep you occupied, for the next 10 to 20 years, if you would like. But I think that one of the things that really characterizes the lab is that the fact that we are a multidisciplinary group of people working on different disciplines from robotics and computer science, mechanical engineering. But I think that everything sits on the foundation of neuroscience. And when I'm talking about neuroscience, I'm talking about real brain sciences. I mean, real neurons, real spikes, real cognitive modeling, and not this kind of an AI that we are all used to, talking with ChatGPT and such. We are working on real artificial brains, which we deploy on electronic chips, and we're using them to design systems and to build to build robotic systems and all sorts of mechanics. So the work in NBL is being supported by very generously by international and big companies like Intel and Accenture, Nvidia and Xilinx, and also we are being supported by the Israel Innovation Authority. Where we are working with many of the government agencies here in Israel, from Elbit to Rafael and other agencies. We are also supported by the Kochabi Foundation, um, from here in Israel. So NBL is also the largest research lab in the Open University. We have postdocs and PhD students and interns, and I think people coming from all stages in their journeys. And we are one of the world's largest centers for neuromorphic computing, which I will spend a few minutes to discuss. So, what is neuromorphic computing in a nutshell? So, essentially, it is a brain on a chip, and it is a real brain on a chip. I mean, if you will take um, a scope and try to monitor, the electrical signals that we have on the chip, it will be hard to distinguish it from real neurons. So we are working at the intersection of computer science and neuroscience, and essentially we are building computers, very smart computers. And if a traditional computer have a CPU, a memory, input, output, I think most of us know this scheme. In the brain, it's much more complicated. It is complicated in the sense that everything is distributed. We have a bunch of neurons connected to each other in a vast networks of connections, and you can't really distinguish between CPUs and memory and where is the input, what is the output, or how the data is being propagated and processed. So, in a sense, it is simpler, but it is much more complicated when we look at it from an engineering perspective. Because if I will take now a piece of brain tissue and give it to a computer scientist and tell him, listen, listen, this is an extraordinary machine, it has consciousness and it can do all this wonderful stuff, he will not be able to do anything with it because it is very hard to program a brain or to elucidate even what it is doing and how it is doing so. So what we do in the lab is building those artificial brains, but also building the ecosystem to support them. So we are building the algorithms and the theory and all of the ecosystem that we need in order to build something that uh, act in the world and it is programmable and if we can tell him what to do by also enjoying all of the benefits of having a brain on a chip, which I will describe in a few sentences now. So this is a bit of a complicated, I think, graph, but it give the essentials to understand why the brain is such an interesting and important framework for doing computations. So what you can see here on the x-axis is how much energy we invest in each signal. So if we take 0, we turn it into 1, how much energy do I need to invest in order to do so? How do I turn this 0 into 1? And we are describing it as as a signal to noise ratio. It means that in the computer, I invest 220 times the energy of the noise level in each signal. So I invest a lot of energy in each signal when we are doing computation with a traditional computer. In the brain is something which the reality is different. We not invest 220 times the noise in signal energy. We only invest 1.72. It means we invest a very limited amount of energy in each signal. Because we are doing it, our error efficiency is through the roof. It means that if a traditional computer have an energy efficiency of 0.001, okay, the brain also almost have a perfect score, 0.98. It means that during evolution, the brain was developed to operate in a very efficient energy scheme. And it makes it a very appealing framework for designing computing systems for moving stuff. It means that if I want to do AI, something like ChatGPT or any of the LLM, I need huge data centers. I need a lot of energy to support this AI inference and design and the training. But in the brain, it's much more efficient. How efficient? Almost perfect efficiency. Very close to being perfect. And it means that I can get a lot of processing power with with very little energy. And it is very important in various scenarios, also in modern warfare, as you will see shortly. But it shouldn't be so surprising. Before I joined the Weizmann Institute for my postdoc in brain sciences, I was a researcher in Mobileye. It is a company. It was bought by Intel, and they are working on autonomous machines, autonomous vehicles. And our autonomous vehicles, back then, it was based on, billions of logical units working on very high in very high en- energy demands. And if we will compare it to a biological entities, something like the honeybee, for example, then we will see that the honeybee can navigate its surrounding very efficiently, much more efficient than any robotic and autonomous machine. It is being operated or driven by merely 1 million spiking neurons, and it consumes only a milliwatt of power. This is millions times more efficient than the autonomous car. So there is something magical about the brain. The fact that we can invest so little energy and gain so much performance, it is just amazing. And it's only a matter of being able to harness this power and to build it in a framework with which we can operate and create useful engineering. But it is not only about the hardware and the energy efficiency. The algorithms that are um, being used by the brain are based on are based essentially on learning. So being able to learn in real time, it's a core principle, a core property of the neuromorphic brain, and it is characterized by sparse representation of data, very efficient way to represent data. We are learning on the fly. It means that we don't need to go into large data centers and being trained over nights and over months just to produce the next model. We are learning all the time. The computing is distributed. There is no there is no separation between memory and CPU, so the hardware is very efficient and the communication is analog and not digital. So where it is relevant in modern warfare. So in the lab we are working on two main areas. The first one is neurorobotics or control systems. So essentially we design cognitive systems that can adaptively control um, a robotic entity and doing it adaptively and very efficiently and with high performance. So this is one thing, being able to control stuff. And the other pillar is computer vision and perception. And if you would think about it, if there is something that we as humans do better than any machine right now, and this is right now, there's no way to know where stuff is are going, in our AI era, what we can do now as human, which is better than the machine, is to move. If you would think about it, to move in space is something that we as human do better than any machine out there. Okay? And we can do it very efficiently in terms of energy. And if we could build this control system, these neuromorphic control systems in electronics, so maybe we can provide this level of performance and energy efficiency to to what we see in space. And it is the one thing that we also are very good at doing is being adaptive to the environment. It's being able to change in real time. And all those pre-AI technologies, they find it very hard to adapt their behavior in real time. But us, as a biological entities, as cognitive process that we have cognitive processors, we can adapt very rapidly to changes, and it can be very useful in many scenarios, from missile interception to to autonomous vehicles walking in the field. And of course, computer vision, we know that our way of perceiving the world, the visual world, is remarkably efficient. Our way of being able to detect a target, to distinguish them from one another, and being able to see in a very broad lighting conditions. And this is very important because the mechanics of our eye and the physiology of our eye essentially enables us to see very well in very dark conditions and in very light conditions. We can adapt ourselves very fast. It means that we have a broad field, a brightness field. And it is really a remarkable achievement of human vision. And what we do in neuromorphic engineering is building artificial retinas. Those are cameras that see the world very similarly to how we see the world. It means that I can see in very dark conditions and very light conditions very accurately and control my maneuvers very efficiently and in real time on the edge. On the edge, it means it is disconnected from a server somewhere on Earth. Everything is being encapsulated on the machine itself. And this is in Hebrew. I'm sorry, I couldn't find the English version of it. This is from just a few days ago from an Israeli newspaper stating that there is a new unit. It's a robotic unit being um, designed to incorporate in the Israeli Defense Forces. So it's like it's going to be I mean, we also have robots everywhere in Gaza, in the air, in on ground, underwater, and now the IDF is building a specialized unit to support them. So one of the things that we do in the lab, as I said, is building those robotic control systems, which responds adaptively to changing environments. So I want to start with it. So basically, I will talk about three or four. We'll see how much time we'll have. I'll talk about adaptive control, challenging maneuvers in complicated terrains, and being able to perform in energy constrained environments and maybe deciphering seismic signals in real time. I'll do it very fast because we don't have a long time. So what you see here, the demonstration of a robotic arm being able to pick apples very accurately. And it can do it because it knows everything about its surrounding, about the dynamics, about the physics and everything. If I change something about the physics in the environment, like I am adding friction or I'm changing the gravity or anything of that sort, you will see that this robot will find it very hard to pick the apples because he thinks that physics is behaving as one thing, but in real life it is behaving differently. But if I will take the same robot and add a few neurons on it, just to allow it to relearn in real time the changing environment, you see that it can pick up the apples again. So this was one of our earliest contribution of being able to control this robotic arm very efficiently with our artificial brains. It was published in patterns, and we show there that it is much more efficient than anything else that we have out there. It means that our way of doing neuromorphic control on those robotic arms in changing environments by using this neuromorphic technologies, by using those neurons that can learn in real time, we can enhance the capabilities of this robotic system very rapidly. And one thing that we've done that I can share with you is really what was published just in 2024 is we used our continuous adaptive model predictive control in autonomous vehicles. And we show that we can increase the performance of those systems by up to 96%. So we did it on a Tesla Model 3 to showcase it, but you can work your imaginations to see how it can deploy in different systems. You can think about missiles who are trying to navigate a very complicated terrain that need to change to different air pressures in real time. So we can use those technologies in order to increase performances in that area. And basically it is based on in one hand we are describing the physics to the system, we are telling the system how the physics behave, but on the other hand we have those adaptive spiking neurons, those neurons which are again very similar to our biological neurons, who are dedicated to learn the surrounding, the changing dynamics, and always sending correcting signals to the controller, allowing it to really change course and adapt to changes in the environment. We also are we worked on a very interesting robot. It's a hexapod robot. It can be used in very difficult terrain. And what we did is we worked with this robot. It has a high level of um, maneuverability, and we showcased how we can use those adaptive neurons in order to allow them to walk very efficiently and very fast on very complicated terrain by keeping his body leveled. And we also published it. I think it was a very interesting. It was very interesting work. And I told you before that we are working on systems that can work in very dark conditions where energy is scarce. So here, this is a joint work with Dr. Tina Eels. She is from the University of Minnesota, where we designed a system that allow us to decipher signals from bears while they are doing their night sleeps. So you can think we have a bear and this bear is sleeping in a den and it can sleep there in a den with no light for like 2 or 3 months. And our technology, with our technology, we were able to decipher those signals very efficiently. So being able to operate this type of electronics underground. Again, you can walk up to your imaginations of why we need to be able um, to do some digital processing underground for long durations. One of our most recent works, we just showcased it in recently in the Biocast conference, where we showcase how we can take analog signals from sensors which were buried underground. So those are very sensitive sensors. We are implanting them underground. They are geophones, and they are just transmitting those signals that tells us that something is happening in the surrounding. So we were able to take this data. We have a field full with those underground sensors, and we were able to take our neuromorphic brain, our artificial brain, and decipher what types of thing is going through those fields. Okay, if it is a vehicle, if it is human, if it is maybe an animal, just by working with the seismic signals, we're able to decipher what is going on in the environment. And this is, of course, have a very diverse set of military applications. So I want to stop here and maybe open it for a few questions. And we're happy to answer anything that you have in mind. Yes, Eran.
Elishai, thank you. Thank you so much. I would encourage anyone in the audience, if you have questions, please go ahead into the chat function and enter your questions. Let me maybe start with a couple, and we'll see what we have time for. Maybe just stepping back, very sort of fascinating what your lab is working on and where you are on the cutting edge of technology. I'm trying to lift it maybe up a little bit, sort of more general level for our audience. when people hear, AI in warfare, it sounds a bit abstract. It sounds a bit futuristic. But in practical terms, where is AI already, shaping today? Kind of intelligence, targeting operations, real-time decision making in the current war that is underway. Can you give a sense? Are we very early days, and is it limited? Is it fairly broadly applied in a number of ways, and how you see that kind of evolving, perhaps over the next set of I hate to say years, but the set kind of near-term period, if you will.
So I think that a fair estimate would be to say that it is already everywhere. Okay? If we can just look at the statistics, we know that during the Iran war, only the second Iran war, in the past few weeks, the target generating system of Israel, it's called the Bsorah or the Gospel, was able to generate 19,000 targets. And it's really a remarkable thing how we can choose targets which are very far from Israel and generate them. Most of them in real time, those targets are changing. And so this is one area which is really generating the targets. The other way, so it is really on the broad intelligence thing, how to take it. Now we need to couple it with intelligence that we have from human resources. So everything being cross-referenced and AI is being used everywhere in this area. The other place which is more close to what we do is building this autonomous machine that can perceive the world and understand it and doing it very efficiently and being able to decipher what they see in real time because we know the battle are there are so many unknowns in the battlefield that you need to respond so fast to what happening in the field. So you need systems that can generate this kind of behavior, which is a very human-like behavior. So AI, I think it's everywhere. It's from our defense systems, it's in the target generations, in our attack systems. If you will go to Gaza, you will see tanks that are moving without any soldiers in them. So it really is everywhere. And I think it is very important that Israel will be at the front end of these developments. Because if one thing that we do see is there is the democratization of AI, right? Everyone can go in and use AI to do those different stuff. And being able to stay ahead of the curve, this is a strategic thing that Israel have to invest and be to do.
Fascinating, fascinating. It, one of the questions really revolves around what AI, it's everywhere, but what can it do particularly well, and what can it sort of do not do as well in a conflict environment? Where must human judgment remain firmly in control? And is that kind of a moving target, if you will, as well?
Yeah, so I think in some areas it's easy to decide. I mean, if you have, we have those new types of missiles that are coming from Iran that are splitting in air, and if you have your intercepts coming through them in order to meet them in the air, it needs to make judgment very quickly in where to go and should he go to this one or the other one? Maybe this one is more strategic than the other because this one is going to fall in an open environment and this one is going to hit a building or stuff. Be able to do it on the fly. I think that this part is autonomous because it needs to be very fast. And we saw it, and when we showed that we can do it very efficiently, I think if what we see, the statistic of the interception is amazing. But when you are not doing the defense, when you are doing the attack, this is where the human element, the human in the loop, is a critical component, and everything needs to be authorized by human eye. But in the end of the day, we need to understand that most of the data being generated in the world is not being seen by a human eye. This is a remarkable thing to think about. Most of the data being generated in the world never it is never observed by human. It is all it's also it's almost entirely visible only to machines. And being able to decipher where is the limit, where do we need to put the human in the loop, and when we need to take it out, I think it has a lot to do with how sensitive it is and how important it is for us to work in real time and to create a very quick judgment.
You touched on this. I'll ask kind of a last question because we're going to wrap it up here shortly. But you touched on this in terms of Israel needing to stay ahead in this whole area. And if you look ahead, what should Israel be doing now to prepare for the next phase of AI in terms of national security? And what role do universities such as the Open University play in educating that next generation of scientists, of soldiers, of civic leaders who can leverage AI to Israel's advantage?
Yeah. So, and I want to even connect it further to specifically what we are doing in the OpenU and why the OpenU is a very interesting environment to do such research. So the OpenU I mean, you said already, it's the biggest university of Israel. I mean, one of every five students in Israel is a student of the Open University. So it is critical that the OpenU will give the best and most advanced education that we can offer to our students in computer science. Because when we talk about resilience, people are talking about the resilience of Israel and how we can go through all those hard realities here in Israel and how we can go forward. One of the things is being able to continue our our education, even though we are working in war. So the advanced technologies that we have in the Open University allow us to reach everyone. I can tell you that my student, I have one student called Israel Clark. He is a yeshiva student, right? And he has a rabbinic degree, and he just did 300 days of reserve duties on tanks in Lebanon, and he's doing his master's work in my lab, working on robotic system. Really a remarkable student, and the only reason I can support him while he's doing in reserve duty and being a research student, I think that in one hand I have this amazing student who have remarkable ability to work with in a very challenging environment. He has a family. He's in the middle. He's a soldier in a war. He's a graduate student, and the level of maturity that you need to have in order to handle this very complicated reality. I get it as an advantage. Okay, so it will take him a few more months to graduate, but what he can contribute, what he can build is, and he specifically was proven it to be true, is really remarkable. And I think that the OpenU can get to him because we have the technologies, we have a way to do our research in remotely. And the fact that we also reach to a very diverse uh, audience, right? We have educations for Hasidic students, we have for Arab students, we have from Israeli students, we have for soldiers. This is the benefits of the Open U and are essentially the mission.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me actually, a couple of questions came in on the chat. Let me run those by you and I'll combine the two questions into one. First, just has any of your work gone into the field? That's kind of one question. And another one, a little bit more technical. I understand the metaphor you provide for neuromorphic computing, but I fail to understand how it's implemented computationally as compared with conventional machine learning.
Hmm.
And for someone with a dated computer science master's, we won't ask how dated. Can you explain what is different in your computational model? What sort of processors are best suited to the sort of calculations you are describing?
Okay.
Getting a
So
little detail there.
yeah, so on I can invest an entire semester
Yeah.
answering the second question. I can. So the easy thing for me to do is to refer you to my book called Neuromorphic Computing. It is in English, so everyone can read it, I think. And I was teaching it in New York even last semester. And so it is by CRC Press, and it is really describing in depth how we are doing neuromorphic computing and how it is different from classic AI. In a nutshell, classic AI needs to be trained in data centers to build a model. We need to invest a lot of energy in order to train the models. They have billions of parameters. We don't work this way as humans. So if I have an artificial brain, I'm training it entirely different. Okay, the algorithms are different, the way I represent data is different. Everything is different in the neuromorphic world. Everything. If you think about digital computer, you think about 0 and 1, 0 and 1. We don't have it in the brain. In the brain, we have a dynamics of signals going from neuron to neurons, creating very intricate patterns of activity. We use them in order to build those control systems. So it is those are two different worlds. And I think that this is very exciting in one hand, very challenging on the other hand. And this is why in my lab we have teams working on different areas in neuromorphic systems. We need to build an ecosystem. I said it in the lecture, and I meant it. We are building an ecosystems because our algorithms looks entirely different than what we have in conventional AI. It's a different world. But if you will see the benefits in terms of energy efficiency, it's remarkable. We are talking about orders of magnitude more efficiently. And what was the first question, if you
The
can?
other question was, have any of your the work gone into the
Oh,
field?
right. Yeah. So one of the so the short answer would be yes. Okay, I cannot really get into the details, but almost of everything. If you will, but I think one of the things that are public, you can see that most of what we do is being sponsored by the Israel Innovation Authority, and they are not investing their money for nothing.
Elishai, really, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm just sensitive to your time. It's kind of early. It's kind of earlier here, but not that early in Israel at the moment. And thankfully, no sirens have sounded. We really appreciate you making the time from your busy schedule to be with us. Maybe just a word to close on the Open University. You touched on a little bit, and we've mentioned that it's by far the largest university, but 40% of the students are studying STEM, and it's by far the largest educator of highly skilled talent into the Israeli innovation economy. Maybe a quarter of all STEM students across all Israeli universities are at the Open University. Among perhaps the most vital institutions in Israel, the impact is really immeasurable. And the contribution is more than academic, and you've mentioned it. It's about resilience, it's about opportunity, it's about Israel's future. And we are here at the American Friends very, very proud to support that mission. I just wanted to thank our listeners for joining us, showing your commitment to Israel and the topics today. Please be on the lookout for additional virtual salons. They will also be available on our podcast channel called the American Friends of Israel, and more about us at afui.org or Facebook or LinkedIn. And just to close, wishing you all a Chag Pesach Sameach. And at this continued complicated time for Israel and for the Jewish people, let's hope for a quieter time. Let's hope for a better and a more secure future for Israel and the region. Thank you all. Good afternoon. Good evening.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.